my name's Skylar, and today we're going to be going over some cool Procreate tips and tricks I found while scouring the internet. So let's go. Number 1. Inserting a private photo. While maybe a bit controversial amongst artists, many have been discovering that Procreate has a private photo feature that hides an inserted reference photo from speed paint recording, allowing one to sketch over or even trace without outing themselves for it, which, if you ask me, is pretty sneaky. Number 2. Press and holding the color icon. When working on a piece, artists typically prefer everything to be as streamlined as possible, and going out of your way to manually switch back and forth between colors can cause your workflow to drag. Fortunately, if you maybe missed a spot when coloring or prefer the previous color, holding down the color icon in the top left will allow you to easily switch between your two most recent colors. Number 3. Dragging layers from one project to another. This one was insane to me when I first came across it. There's been moments when I have a character or object from a piece I've drawn that I need to duplicate within another piece to either reuse or use for reference. I always hated having to go back to the original, hide all unnecessary layers surrounding the base character, changing the background to transparent, saving it, then reinserting it into my new project. Well, something especially cool about Procreate is that you can select and drag a layer from one project to another. That is so cool! Number 4. Moving multiple layers at the same time. This was another feature that made my life so much easier. More times than I can count have I finished lining, coloring, and shading a character or object before realizing that it needed to be resized or transformed. I and many other artists prefer to have everything lie in separate layers to make going back and editing a piece easier and more manageable. But when needing to make these changes after completion, I found myself either meticulously moving and resizing each layer and praying that I can match them up, or just merging everything together and losing the ability to have all the frames I had prior. Little did I know that you can select multiple frames and move them coherently. What? And finally, number 5. A reference layer. When coloring or shading, this feature is incredibly helpful. Digital artists like to work as fast as possible, as mentioned before, so coloring can be a drag. I personally loathe it, especially trying to squeeze inside the lines as Procreate lacks a built-in reference feature like Fire Alpaca or Paint Tools I once had or have. Well, it's not all for naught. By selecting and changing the desired layer to a reference, adding a new layer, and dragging the added layer below the reference layer, you can color or drag and drop a color without it exceeding your line art. And that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you learned at least one thing about Procreate that you maybe didn't know before. Thanks so much for watching, appreciate ya, and have a good one.